Rodgers taking the podium, unfiltered, unedited, unapologetic for the last couple of months of drama with the Packers. Now, yesterday, it was GM Gutekunst's turn to answer questions, explaining his version of why the Packers went out and got Randall Cobb. Take a listen.
Is he really just here to make Aaron happy? Is that primarily the...
I think that's a big part of it. I think it's a big, obviously without Aaron, I don't think we would probably be pursuing that. Randall's still a really good player. And seeing him last night just kind of reminded me of, what an impact he'll have in our locker room for our football team. But, this was a very important thing for Aaron, and that's why we did it.
Ryan, was it difficult over the course of the offseason for you to relinquish some of this personnel decision-making control?
There's no relinquishing any personnel decisions or control. It's literally just finding a way to incorporate, maybe Aaron's thoughts and make it, and really explain to him why we're doing what we're doing. I think that's a big part of the things that he's got some grievance on. He just doesn't understand exactly why we did what we did, and we probably didn't communicate that well enough to him.
I guess the reason I asked that is because you said that Randall's here to make him happy. He's a player that you want to be here if not for Aaron. So when I say relinquish control, I mean it like that. Does that make your job any harder to do?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that make my job harder, right? And certainly, but at the same time, this is kind of a unique player and a unique circumstance in what we're trying to accomplish.
All right, Brandon, you heard from Aaron, and now you heard from the general manager. What was your reaction to all that?
Oh, I feel like Aaron's relationship with Mr. Gutekunst, who Chris calls Goody. I think he nicknamed him Goody. Is like my relationship with Coach on these topics on player and organization. So look, Coach, I'm not going to get sensitive today. Right? I'm not going to do that because me and you, we need 2 to 3 hours to be able to talk through this whole dynamic of NFL, the players, the coaches, organization. So Chris, later on tonight, give me and Coach the platform on your Odd Couple radio show so we can talk through it. So I'm going to be quick here, okay? I'm going to be quick here. Coach, here's the thing. You know and I know that there's some of the smartest players that you've been around help you put together your defensive strategy and also offensive strategy. Well, what do I mean? No, they're not coming in and putting a game plan together, but you have a player that comes back to the sideline and says, Coach, you just called cover 3, okay? Cover 3, this happened. Number 2 went this way, 1 went that way. Sorry, guys, I'm talking a little football stuff, X's and O's with Coach here, but stay with me. And then the player comes back and say, Coach, now, if you tweak this is what I felt. We can pretty much be in maybe a better position. The good players are able to articulate themselves in between drives, in between series, in between practice, in between games, and then the good coaches are able to sit back and say, you know what? I think that's a good idea. I'm going to listen to you. And you know what? I'm going to put that in. And then it starts to shape and form some of our philosophy, some of our methodology around what we're calling on the defense side, what we're calling the offense side. So why can a player have a little bit of power or a seat at the table to say, you know what, Coach, this player right here, whether it's Randall Cobb or Jake Kumerow from last year, I like him. He helps me. And you guys sit back and say, you know what? I see your point. I'm going to listen to you on that. So now you're seeing Brian Gutekunst get a little uncomfortable because he had to give up that power. But this should just be a commonplace for players, coaches, and general managers when you're smart players and those players that are part of the 1% come to you and try to talk to you about how we want to win games, how we can be better. So I just feel like this dynamic is shifting in the NFL between players and organization.
Well, a couple things. First of all, I'm a little hurt because our relationship is way better than their relationship. Okay, so you and I are in a much better space than that. So that's the first thing.
I put it on the topic. It was for one topic, Coach. It wasn't everything. I just said when we're talking players and yeah, okay.
Is I can't do tonight. I got to take the kids to the movie, so that's already booked. So that's out for us to hammering that out. But we can set that up moving forward. Look, there's a lot of truth in what you're saying, Brandon, and you're talking about it in a very specific context in terms of the meeting room And I loved getting feedback from guys, and I wanted feedback from the guys because it doesn't matter how good your plan is. If they don't believe in it, they're not going to execute it. And I had some unbelievable players from an intellectual standpoint. I mean, Mike Vrabel was there, Teddy Bruschi, Rodney Harrison, Willie McGinnis. I mean, it goes on and on. Ty Law, Laura Malloy, and their input was extremely important because you wanted to be together when you move forward. I think it's a different space in personnel, and what nobody talks about is, I went back and looked this up. Everybody says Green Bay won't spend any money. 2019's Darius Smith, $66 million. Adrian Amos, $37 million. Billy Turner, $28 million. Preston Smith, $52 million. 4 years, $183 million they spent in 2019. Like that money has to come from somewhere. And that was a real spending spree. That was a spending spree that rivals anybody else's spending spree. But nobody talks about that. And there wasn't any comment when they brought those guys in and they all had an impact, saying that was a bad move. It's a slippery slope when you start getting everybody involved in personnel decisions, because you start getting everybody involved in people's money. And you may help one person, but it hurts somebody else. And when a player is doing that and he's making those decisions, it compromises him in the locker room and puts him in a bad spot. Am I saying don't discuss and have feedback? No, but I think it puts guys in a really difficult spot. What if you're the guard that doesn't get paid because the quarterback's best friend does get paid? What if you're the guy that gets cut because the quarterback's best friend gets kept? At the end of the day, you're trying to do what's right for everybody in the building. It is. And so this is the business,
Let me ask you this question, Coach.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. You were in New England. You guys were phenomenal. Obviously, a lot of people study the New England way, okay? Tom Brady, the GOAT. Tom Brady, did he deserve a seat at the table when it came to the wide receiver position? Hey, I like Wes Welker, or I like Randy Moss. Does he deserve a say in that? Or are you saying like a guy like Tom Brady, or any quarterback for that matter, should just say, you know what, don't worry about that. Like, I'll take your feedback on X's and O's, but when it comes to that, let me pick the wide receivers. Let me pick the tight ends.
Well, does Aaron Donald deserve a spot at the table picking the defense? I mean, there's a lot of great players at a lot of great positions. And when you have multiple great players on your team, do they all deserve a spot at the table? And how do you think it's going to feel as a coach or a GM saying, well, look, we value his input, but we don't really value your input. So you go back to the locker room because we don't think you're as important to the team, so we're only going to listen to this player. Do you know how disruptive and divisive that is? And then you said it's the business, and there is a very strong business side of this, and Aaron is learning that. And I'd say with Tom Brady, the other thing that's unique about him is he was willing to sacrifice his money in order to keep some guys that weren't going to be able to be kept if he got the maximum contract all the time.
Yeah, I think the fundamental issue here, Coach, is when we look at Tom Brady in Tampa, Jason Light went on, I think, Rich Eisen's show and says he'll lean on Tom Brady to recruit. He'll get his input on guys. But Tom Brady, he said, trusts us to make the right decision. So I don't think there's any trust between Aaron Rodgers and Brian Gutekunst at all. And Aaron Rodgers was very transparent the other day, and he deserves to be applauded for it. Brian Gutekunst was also very transparent, but I'm going to hold my applause, Broussard, because here's what I learned from Brian Gutekunst's interview. One, he does not want to relinquish control. He cut off the report. He's like, I'm not relinquishing control. Two, Randall Cobb wouldn't be on this team. He doesn't want Randall Cobb on the team. He has the power. He wouldn't have signed Randall Cobb. He's just there because Aaron Rodgers is there. And three, Aaron Rodgers is making his job more difficult. Why is that a good takeaway to have from your first press conference? Why don't you just answer the questions no matter what question comes at you? Why don't you just say, you know what? Here's what I think about Randall Cobb and relinquishing control and Aaron Rodgers. We're all laser focused on bringing another Super Bowl to Green Bay. So if I have to listen to Aaron Rodgers, I'll listen to you, I'll listen to anybody. My ears are wide open because I want as much input as possible to make the best decisions for this ball club so I can bring another Super Bowl to the great Packers fan base and the great city of Green Bay. Why would you say anything other than that? To me, it showed that it was almost like his counterpunch to Aaron Rodgers' conversation. Instead of things getting better, I don't know if they got worse, but they stayed the same at best, Broussard.
Yeah, look, I'm with you on the transparency. You don't need to tell everybody everything. This was almost the football equivalent of former Cavs GM David Griffin saying, I cried after LeBron James signed with us. I was miserable the year we won a championship. That didn't play well. All right, LeBron in his camp was not happy about that. Keep that to yourself. And Gutekunst didn't do that. Look, I think there's a chance that this can work out and be a healthy relationship because I hear where you're coming from, Coach, and I do agree that it doesn't need to be all out in the open like Aaron Rodgers has this huge amount of say in what we're doing because in the locker room, yeah, for the guys it works out for, it could be good. Like Randall Cobb will love Aaron. But what about the guys that don't get the contract or they don't get the amount of money they thought they get or get cut? They could be mad with Aaron Rodgers when maybe he had nothing to do with it. But if they think you're calling the shots, it could be bad. But I think it can be healthy if it's at a certain level. Sure, Aaron Rodgers, ask him about the receivers. What do you think about this guy? Even the defensive backs. What do you think about this guy? Can he play? Can he not play? But it can't go to final say or anything like that. So Gutekunst was telling the truth, but it wasn't time to tell the truth. How you think Randall Cobb feels walking in there today when everybody's looking at him like, you know, you only here because of Aaron Rodgers? You know,
they're celebrating him. No, listen, that's why I said we need more time. Chris and Coach, I call